Well, hello everybody. How y'all doing? Hope you're doing well. I wanted to come on today and discuss some things that I've been learning myself about deconditioning and shadow work. This can be what I have found. It can be from religion, family, society. Sometimes there are things that we have to unlearn. And so I wrote a list of 7 things that I have been discovering that I'd like to share with anyone who else is going through this process, especially if you come from religion and family issues. So the first thing is there's this idea that there's a timeline, that I'll start working on this here and I'll end working on this here. And we sometimes beat ourselves up for the fact that we feel like we're not progressing as fast enough, or that as we should, or that there's something that keeps coming back up, and we're like, well, I should be past this by now. It's been enough time. I should be past this by now. I had an entire life of a dominant religion, a controlling religion, as well as family issues. So I can't expect to suddenly, even a few years out now, be healed, to be right thinking, right? Because, or what is even right thinking? But because it took 40-something years of indoctrination of things, it's not suddenly all going to be undone. So the idea that, okay, I should be at this spot now and I'm not, or if I start working on this area right now, that suddenly 2 months later I should be okay, that's got to go out the window. There's no such thing as a timeline when you are deconditioning and working on your shadows. The next thing is that there's this notion that we need to correct or change our shadow. Yes, there are behaviors and things that we should evolve from and change, but there's also a lot of areas that we should embrace. There's this idea that the shadow side is the bad side, and I'm finding I don't agree with that. Like, there are times when I feel change or correct something, such as I self-sabotage all the time in several different areas of my life for several different reasons. That's something I'm working on. One of the things that I embrace is that you mess with my kids and you ain't seeing it coming. You know, that's something I would never change about myself. I embrace that about myself. I am a mama bear. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I embrace that part of myself. Whereas some people might see that as a negative trait, I embrace it because I see it quite different. But it's not a love and light trait, right? The next thing is that when we grow up in religion, and let's face it, even society and with our families, there's always this need for validation and approval, right? So we need the validation that what we're doing is correct. We need the approval of God or our parents or society. And part of deconditioning I'm finding is that I'm trying to learn that I do not need to prove myself to anyone other than myself. That I do not need anyone else's approval. That I don't need anybody else to tell me that I'm doing right. That I don't need somebody to say I'm living a good life. That I don't need somebody to say I'm raising my kids right. That I'm, whatever. That's one of the toughest ones for me in deconditioning is when you're in religion, there's that constant need that you constantly need to prove yourself to your deity, to Christ, God, whatever, your pastor, whatever, you're constantly needing to prove to the bishop, whoever, that you are worthy. And that's one of the hardest things that I think we as a society and family and, like I say, religion, to break away from. So giving yourself that extra compassion in that area, I think, is exceptionally important. Number 4 was that, again, kind of with the timeline, there's this idea or notion that I will become deconditioned. I will be healed. My shadow will be healed. The thing is that it is a constant effort and it never ends. Again, because you can't expect to erase a lifetime of conditioning. And it's not just one area of your life, you know. Think of all, just society, the conditioning we have just from society and dealing with each other. Add family on top of that. Add religion on top of that. It's never done. And that moves into acceptance. The 5th point here is accepting. Accepting that you may never fully be satisfied, and I don't think you should be, of where you are in your deconditioning and in your shadow work. I think there needs to be also an acceptance of, at the beginning, middle, wherever you are on whatever spectrum that you are in this process, there needs to be an acceptance of who you are as you are in that moment. That you are worthy in that moment. You are a beautiful being, who you are in that moment. The idea that once I get here, I'll be okay. I'll be an okay human. I'll be worthy of love. I'll be whatever. No, you, as you are in this moment. Is there stuff you want to work on? Yes, but it doesn't change the fact that in this moment, you are worthy. You are enough. You are perfect as you are. Again, that doesn't mean you don't want to work on things. But it doesn't make you any less than because you have stuff to work on. Also, that as part of acceptance, that we're not our thoughts. When we're conditioned, thoughts will come all the time. From looking in the mirror immediately, I'm a fat, ugly pig. Family, I am the reason everything goes wrong. Religion, I can't do anything right. Things like that. We are not those thoughts. They are conditioned thoughts that come forward in our head. It's important that we don't grab onto them and make them our identity. They are a passing spark of energy, right? And that is all they are. It's important that we accept that we are human. Thoughts will arise, but we don't need to latch onto them. The next is it's very easy when you're doing this kind of work to start to think that, especially when you know, I look back at my life as a believing Mormon, and sometimes I'm like, what a waste. There's so many opportunities if I hadn't bought into this that I've missed, because I felt like, and also a family, that I felt like I was too selfish, or that I shouldn't pursue this or that because that's not in alignment, right, with what the church, God, and my family would want. And it's very easy to think of all the things that we missed because we bought into some notion or another that we were conditioned to believe. It will drive you crazy, all the should'ves and could'ves and would'ves. There needs to be an acceptance, again, of what was. A reframing, kind of, that's part of the deconditioning, of that it got you where you are. And again, where you are is where you should be, and not now you're moving forward. It taught you things. It has shown you a way not to be. It has shown you the other perspective. Whatever, there needs to be a reframing of that so that you don't feel like your life was a waste, because it wasn't, and it isn't. And then finally, there is no right way to decondition or to do shadow work. It's what works for you, and whatever it is that will help you to do it, that's what you do. Whatever method you find that'll help you to stick with it, that's what you do. Whatever is the most loving and compassionate for where you are moment to moment, that's what you do. There are times when I will really sit down and go deep into what is going on with me and my thoughts and why I act a certain way. And I really need that sometimes. They're really looking at it, whatever. There are other times when I am too fragile and I just need compassion. There are times when every day, every thought will be deconstructed. There will be days when I will study the true history of Mormonism for hours and hours and hours, trying to deconstruct all of my beliefs. What's my beliefs? What were the church's beliefs that they instilled in me versus what was actual, things like that. But then there are times when I don't want to hear anymore. I can't. So it's important that when you are doing this, you understand that there's no right way to do it. It's a constant, and whatever is the most compassionate and loving for yourself, that's the right way for you, you know. So those are just some thoughts I wanted to share that I've been thinking on. I've been meeting a lot of people who are leaving Mormonism and also other religions, and people who have grown up with difficult families. And if you think of the world we live in and how, as white people, we are so conditioned to things that just absolutely have to be worked on. Everyone's going through this, so I thought it was important to share. So I hope you did too, and that you got something out of that. And anyway, just want you guys to know that I love you, I appreciate you, and no matter where you are in life, just remember you're enough. Okay? Have a good one. Talk to you later.